This is Kerrigan & Company. If you're looking for the latest and best technologies for skincare treatment, look no further than Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Sienna offers Botox, fillers, hydrofacials, and anti-aging facials, chemical peels, acne facials, microneedling with radio frequency, laser hair removal, and so much more. The fully certified medical staff at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly will be with you every step of the way, making the process both educational and relaxing. Book your appointment now at siennaaesthetics.com. That's siennaaesthetics.com. Hi, this is Kim. Coming up today, we're going to talk about the best food in the area and speak to a legend like you've never seen. This is Kerrigan & Company.
Kerrigan & Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan & Company is here for you.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Kerrigan & Company. Great to have you with us this week. We have a number of friends that I haven't seen for a long time with me today, and keeping me company is someone that I have to tell you has a real appreciation for new restaurants, old restaurants, standby restaurants, hidden gems, and just food in general. And this is how he and I came to know one another, because I have a great appreciation for all of that, too. Let me assure you. It is so great to have the host of Wicked Bites, both radio and TV. But when I hesitate for a second, Scott Whitley, because when I say host, not only are you the host, but you do a whole lot of things. You wear a whole lot of hats.
I put a lot of it together. I mean, nowadays you really got to do all that. You got to wear a lot of hats. It's not like it used to be, 10 years ago. Everything has changed. Everything, in some ways, is better. In some ways, it's a lot worse, know, but it's really changed the whole industry. And you're right, I love food, but I'm not a foodie. I don't consider myself a foodie.
Which I have heard you say that before, and I think that's so interesting. So tell me what it is about food that you like.
What I like is, first of all, we're doing a food show, and there's a lot of food shows out on television. I mean, the radio show's been on forever. I mean, that's one thing.
That started with your dad, correct?
That started with my dad back in the 70s, the 1970s, and at that time it was the first food show in America. And I believe, and I could be wrong on this, and I've said this many times, no one's corrected me. It's the second longest continually running radio show in America other than the Grand Ole Opry right now.
Really, Scott?
Yeah. And it's every Sunday morning we take phone calls. We let people call in and talk about their places, their finds. And, they could praise or zing. I mean, that's been the topic forever on the radio show. And we, because of that show, have found some incredible places, because the restaurant industry, I'm sure you know, changes at a drop of a hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a restaurant in my neighborhood that I went to. This is about a decade ago. I went 2 or 3 times, just didn't like it. It was just okay. The atmosphere was nice.
Everybody talked about it, and you went, and it just wasn't your thing.
It was just okay. And so I stopped going to it. And then somebody said, "Have you been to this restaurant?" And I go, "Yeah, I just didn't like it." He goes, "We got to go back. It's under new ownership."
Absolutely.
I had no idea. I went back, and it's a fantastic restaurant. Mm-hmm. But that's how quick it changed. And that was probably 2 miles from my house, and I couldn't even keep up on it.
Sure.
Years ago, the Mass Restaurant Association came up to me and they asked me if I could put together a book of all the restaurants in Massachusetts, right? And I said, there's no way you could do it. By the time you published that book and they wanted to do it every year, it would be so out of date,
absolutely,
that you just couldn't do it.
I think it's so interesting that your dad started a radio show about food. Because
by accident.
Well, okay, and we can hear that part of the story, but it became such a hit, and who would think that you would listen about food and restaurants versus seeing it? And for me, even seeing it sometimes is tough because I want to smell it, I want to touch it. So the idea, I mean, that's brilliant, and it's amazing that it's survived like that.
Well, I think the secret behind it is because it's the audience, right? You're not hearing it from me that says, "Oh, this is great." If I went and I said every restaurant is great, no one is ever going to believe me.
Right.
But the fact that there's a radio show where people call up and say you're wrong, which everybody happens occasionally because everybody's tastes are different.
Absolutely.
I like restaurants because, I might like the bartender, or I might like the atmosphere. Somebody else is going to go in there because they love the food. I always tell restaurateurs, and I meet thousands of them every single year. I said, you're in the entertainment business just as much as I am.
Absolutely.
And whether they understand that or not, I said, my job, a lot of times, I get people into your restaurant, but I can only do it one time.
Sure.
It's up to them to get those folks to come back. And I really think with the validity of the radio show, people could call up and they could challenge us if they would like to do that. But I think that's what really made it. And it was really a unique and unreal start, the way it all happened.
Yeah.
It was back in, we think, the late 70s. Now, there were no cell phones back then at all, right?
Right.
And radio was sort of in its infancy as far as talk radio was concerned.
Yeah, because nobody really had a way to call in.
Right. There was really no talk radio. And it was the Friday of the 4th of July weekend. Yeah, and it was a really hot and humid day, and my dad just couldn't get phone calls. He did everything. He called the governor, every name he could think of in the book, just couldn't get phone calls back then. And then about an hour later, after he was reading the movie listings, pretty much, a lady called in. She started talking about fried ice cream. Now, back in the 70s, nobody ever heard of fried ice cream. And she started talking about Szechuan food. Now, no one heard about that.
Of course.
Now, this is how the show all got started. The owner of that particular restaurant called my dad and called the manager of the radio station at the time and had them come in. He says, look, I got good news and bad news. I would be your first sponsor of that show if you would do it again. My only problem is I'm about to file for bankruptcy protection. And that was how Whaley's got started in Saugus, and that's how the restaurant show got started way back when. And Whaley's at one time was up to 13 locations.
Wow,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so it all happened by accident, and then he just perfected it with his style. And luckily, I caught a lot of his style because I used to, before I came back, because I was working at WEI in Boston for probably a decade.
Right.
All the way up to like assistant program director there, under news and then under sports. I was there. I came back to help him out because he was doing morning drive. He had the old morning drive shift on WRKO and stuff, and he would do it on the weekends. He would do the restaurant show. It was just too much for him.
Of course.
So back then I was doing stuff with the Celtics, and we had these units that we could actually broadcast the signal back to the radio stations that were these little portable boxes. And I brought one into his house, and we became like the first show in America to use them. Now they're used everywhere.
Of course.
I own my own house now. I have my own studio. I just roll out of bed on Sunday mornings, and I'm on the air. Which is just so fantastic. But we were one of the first shows to do it on a regular basis.
I'm actually shocked that he was able to do it like that. I really am. And still, they were taking the calls back at the station.
At that time, they were taking the calls back at the stations. Now I do that.
You can do it at home
through my own studio. Yeah. But I remember one time he was doing the morning show, and I got a call like at 4 a.m. because I worked again, at another radio station in Boston, but we had the equipment in on the weekend for him. And he said, my mother calls me. She says, I need you to come over and help him out. I go, why? Because there's a bat in the house, and it's in the bedroom, and it can't change. He can't go in. He has to be on the air in an hour.
Oh, my God.
So basically, that was really the first time that unit was ever tested, when Marjorie Clapper was back in the studio, and he was doing it from his house, and nobody knew that he was at home, and this was many, many years ago.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm even shocked at the fact that the quality was good enough that you could do just like that.
Yes.
Like you're saying, I mean, now, I do a radio show, and my producer's in one place, my co-host is in a different place, and you would never know, but we all do it off of an app, believe it or not.
Yeah. There's so many great apps out there. The quality of the sound has gotten incredible. Right. It's really amazing. And now it's really all streamed over the internet.
Yeah.
So anybody that has these particular units, we could be on that radio station in a day. I mean, I've done the radio show from Florida on the weekends. And just send it back. I'll do it from, Hampton Beach, and we'll do it all digitally now and send it back to the studio.
It does give you a lot of freedom. There's no two ways about it.
And it's just so much easier setup.
So let me ask you about the restaurant industry, because you have been following, how long have you been doing the show?
I probably came back, it has to be at least 30 years
30,
now.
right?
I think I've been, it just became a point where I was traveling a lot, with WEI. I was going out to like Super Bowls and stuff, and baseball winter meetings and stuff. And you have a child and stuff like that, and you're traveling a lot and you're working a lot. I worked a lot of hours, and I just decided, okay, I'm helping him out on the weekends, and it just become like the family
Of course.
business. I mean, I learned what he learned. And it just kind of like took over.
Sure.
And then I remember had to be 10 years ago, he asked me to fill in, because I would fill in from time to time. And he said, I'll fill in this weekend. Fine. All right, no problem. Could you fill in next weekend? And he never came back.
Yeah.
So he never really said officially retired.
Right.
He
right,
still
right.
does the voiceovers occasionally for the television show. He doesn't do it as often as he used to, but he still likes to linger. He sounds just as good as he did. I found tapes back in the 1970s on reel-to-reel, which I don't have a reel-to-reel machine anymore, so I had to have it convert. He sounds almost the same.
Isn't that amazing?
It's really amazing how his
him.
voice is held up.
Well, it's a fabulous, seamless, transition, which everybody hopes for success, that you can do that kind of thing, especially when you have a host who was as infamous as your dad. I mean, he was loved and, but making that
made
transition,
it a challenge for me.
Well, no kidding. Yeah, absolutely. Those are shoes to fill, for sure.
Yep.
But he allowed you to sort of, intermix, which I think is a great way to make the transition. My question to you, though, is what have you seen as far as, and I know you've seen a lot, but I mean, what are the big trends that have changed in the restaurant industry?
Comfort food.
Comfort food.
Comfort food.
Really?
One thing I think that this whole industry has gone into is I still say we get overserved at restaurants, right?
For sure.
And
I couldn't agree more.
I was at Kitty's the other day at North Reading. Single-handedly, they get a ton of phone calls throughout the years, the decades on the radio show. But it's their portion sizes.
Yes.
And I was talking with the owner, Scott White, and he says, if I ever cut down my portion sizes, I would get so many complaints. Mm-hmm. So his chicken parmesan is not just one chicken breast, it's two. It's like an inch thick. Yeah. It comes with a salad that is huge.
That serves a family of four.
Yes, and then a full bowl of pasta.
Right, right.
It's really amazing. So I had that, I brought it home, I made 3 meals for us. I mean, that's how many meals.
Sure.
But I think the comfort food aspect has really taken over now, the industry. I mean, you see the fancier restaurants, they do okay, but not like the comfort food restaurants.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting, too, because we're also into fitness and wellness and health. And I think that when push comes to shove, everybody just wants a little chicken parm.
Yes.
Everybody.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and there's not.
Yeah.
You're right. A good pasta dish does make you feel better.
Right.
I always love. I know this is crazy. I always love a good meatloaf if I can find it somewhere.
Yes.
I mean, I'll take it. Whether it's posh or not, I do love it. Hey, we do this thing here called Fast Five. Okay. So it's 5 questions. We'd like for you to answer them in 30 seconds.
Okay.
And it's rapid fire, and we want to see how you do. Are you ready, Scott Whitley?
I guess I'm ready.
All right, here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Hot or iced coffee?
Hot coffee.
What is year-round?
Hot coffee was my answer. So year-round. Year-round.
What's one item on your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
I've done so much. That is a tough thing. I would probably like to go to the Grand Canyon once in my life just to see it.
Who is the most interesting person you've ever met and talked to?
President Bush.
Excellent. Would you go to space if you were given the opportunity?
In a heartbit.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you got me beat
I would
there.
like to be up there more than 2 minutes, but...
What skill or talent would you most like to learn?
Most like to learn. I guess I always wanted to sing, but I'm a terrible singer. So that would probably be my go-to thing if I had it.
So I'm not going to space, Scott, but you and I do have the singing thing in common. And here's a little bonus question because you did so well. What's your favorite restaurant in the area?
Oh, now that is tough. In this area, Filippo's, which is right down the street. A great Italian restaurant. Filippo still has a home in Italy. And he goes back all the time. And the best time to see him is when he comes back because he always brings back treats from local restaurants there.
Yeah.
So I always head over to Causeway Street and Filippo's.
It's very authentic, isn't it?
Oh, I love it. The atmosphere is great. I do a lot of our office parties over there. There's a back room that we could shut off.
Yep.
And, our holiday parties are always there. And Filippo is so entertaining.
Fantastic. Scott Whitley is keeping me company today from Wicked Bites, everybody. We didn't get to talk about the TV show. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. When we come back, we have a guest. I'm really looking forward to this. This is a woman that she and I worked in the same television station. She left the television station and she took off, and now she's about to produce her first full-length documentary. It's a terrific story, and we'll share it with you when we come back on the other side of the break. This is Kerrigan & Company.
Have you tried Rumson Rum yet? This smooth, sweet, memorable rum is distilled in the Caribbean, barreled aged, and then blended, finished, and bottled in Salem, Massachusetts. Rumsen's offers 4 unique blends: Gold, Spice, Grand Reserved, and Coffee. Before you start to sip or mix your next cocktail, ask yourself, do I want to enjoy New England's most awarded rum brand? If the answer is yes, the answer is Rumsen's. Get Rumsen's rum at liquor stores or ask for it by name at your favorite restaurant. Rumsen's. Life lived, life enjoyed.
This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company. So good to have you with us for this edition. And keeping me company today, Scott Whitley, of course, from Wicked Bites, both TV and radio. Great to have you, my friend.
Kim, it is great to be
I'm trying to remember the last time you and I had seen each other. It's been a while.
Probably we were in the radio studio.
Yeah, I think you're
together.
right. Yeah,
a couple of years ago.
I used to work at WRKO on a regular basis, and I think I saw you there on a pretty regular basis for sure. So it's great to have you with us, and I'm really excited about our next guest. This woman and I worked together at Fox 25. She was an assignment editor. She left the television station to go on to do some really incredible things, culminating now in what I think is probably her greatest challenge and really her biggest accomplishment. She is the owner and the executive of Craftwork. It's a production house here in the Boston area. This is Emma Ratliff, and it's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
I just said, when's the last time I saw you? Emma, I don't know when I've seen you last. I've kept an eye on what was happening, but it's been a while that we've been in the same room together.
Well, I saw Bob Ward on, and I was jealous, so I had to knock on your door.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you did. And, you know, it's funny. I didn't realize at the time that you would go from being assignment editor, you were on our assignment desk there at Fox 25, to producing these incredible shows. I want you to, before we get into Craftwork, I want you to just talk a little bit about some of the things that you've had the opportunity to do and the places you've had the chances to see.
Yeah, I mean, my background is so varied. I mean, it's all media, but it's so varied. I started in a very small documentary production company in Concord, Massachusetts, but very newsy content. And then from there, I thought maybe I should get some news experience and went to Channel 7, went to Fox 25 in the heyday. And it was the time that we were there together was the time to be there. Because,
so right.
I mean, love Boston 25, but we had 86 years the Boston Red Sox won. We had the Democratic National Convention. We had John Kerry running for president. We had the Patriots winning the Super Bowl. We had the passage of gay marriage.
Yep.
That was a year that we had to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was in 1 year. Yeah, you're so right. We were in the heyday of news there. So it really gave you a sense of news, didn't it?
It really did. And from there, I went on to, and I just wanted more. And from there, I got a job offer at the Boston Herald. And I was there for a few years as the city desk editor. And another total challenge, completely out of my element. Didn't go to journalism school, did not do print, but I got the opportunity and I could not turn it down.
But you probably didn't feel that you needed to go to journalism school because you learned it from the ground up. And I think that's the best way to do it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, nowadays, a good story is a good story, and you have that in you to see that. I mean, there are some things that you learn, but you really have to have that in you to see, is this going to, is this a good story?
Sure. It took you on to HGTV.
Yeah, from there, from there I went sort of back to long format documentaries, and I went to do, Parts Unknown with Anthony Bourdain, which was just an absolute dream.
Scott, you can relate to that.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. I mean, his series and his work in the industry was really, truly remarkable because it was him. You know, it wasn't like a cooking show. It was him and how he related, how it all involved in his life and his world. And he just took it in a different direction.
Yeah, he really did. That's really cool.
Absolutely. And the crew he had around him was,
I bet.
They were the pinnacle. I mean, they were top notch. And I learned so much from them. And then from there, it was a very international show. And from there, I went on to do House Hunters International, which, I mean, traveling for work was,
right.
And going to, I would never in a million years plan a trip for myself to Zanzibar.
Right.
But I got the job and they immediately sent me to Zanzibar to do an episode. But also, I think that the through line also for my career, though, has been that cultural element, just learning about, just that knowledge, just wanting to absorb all of that knowledge of other cultures, other, news around the world. Yeah. What's the best way for me to get that in front of people?
Yeah. Well, it brought you to Craftwork,
yes,
which you founded 2 years ago.
Yes, 2 years ago.
And it's a woman-owned, help me out here, woman-owned, woman-operated is what I'm going to call it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Kind of looking at the world. Not kind of. It's looking at the world through a woman's lens.
Exactly. And it was so important to me, all along the way through Fox 25, through the Herald, I had always found the strong women. I found you, I found Dot Joyce, I found Maria Stefanos, then I went to the Herald and I found Lauren Beckham Falcone and I found Shelley Cohen and I was driven to those women. I didn't have that growing up, and so I sought them out. And then a few years back, I got a very responsible, reliable job, doing productions for an agency. And, we did work for financial services, tech services,
wasn't as creative as you are.
It was not creative,
right,
but it was reliable.
Sure.
But it's a difference because you're working for somebody else.
Yeah,
that creativity
too, right,
that you could bring in. And I almost look at it as your name is on it. So you work extra hard to make sure, even if one frame was off, you go back and spend 2 hours fixing that one frame.
Well, exactly right. I mean, I could do the job, and I did the job, but at the same time, things would come up like this client needs. They would need a financial expert, or they would need a tech expert, and it was the same person over and over and over and over again.
Sure,
it was the same old white guy, and I'm like, let's give the platform to some other people. And I just thought, why is it taking these huge multi-million-dollar companies so long to find other people with other, with another side of the story?
That's sort of what I did with my TV show when we first found it. It was 14 years ago. I pretty much told my staff, I want to go out and make mistakes. I want to go out and challenge it, but I want to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Try to look at something a little bit differently than it's been in the past, because we've seen it a million times.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And by not looking for those other people, it's so detrimental to their business, because you're leaving an entire demographic
on the table. Right. You bet. Absolutely. So Craftwork came about, and talk to us a little bit, because I know you've done a number of projects, and they've been smaller projects, but a number of projects, but now. And it takes about 2 years or more, probably. In fact, I would venture to guess 2 years is pretty quickly for taking on a project like the one that you have taken on. And I've had the pleasure, and we'll be sure that we put it up on some of our social, of seeing just some of the clips as this project moves along. And tell our listeners and our watchers what you're doing.
When I started the company, I wanted to get back to, I really wanted to focus on that core mission of more women in front of the camera and more women behind the camera. And a friend of mine just randomly said, have you ever heard of Fern Malice? And I said, no idea. Who's that? I'm interested. And I went on her Instagram feed, and I thought, how do I not know her?
Right.
I mean, she's with Hillary Clinton. She's with Bill Clinton. She's with Christian Siriano. She is with, I mean, everyone. Everyone across the board that you've ever known, not even just in fashion, but who've had some kind of impact on our current world. And I thought, I need to get to know her. And she is, basically her claim to fame is that she created New York Fashion Week, what we see today and what we've seen in the past since the early 90s. And which sounds a little bit small, but when you think about the fact that there is now a New York Fashion Week Dubai, Dallas, LA, Boston, Lakme in India, you realize that this woman created a revenue stream, a platform for creatives that spans the globe.
Sure.
And, she's in her 70s now, and she is still up at dawn, not packing it in till, the wee hours of the night. And I wanted to see, how is this woman sustaining? How is she constantly getting into the conversation? Right. People are looking to her and her opinion. I want people to see your life, and especially women, no offense, but
no
that
offense,
you don't need to be put on a shelf at a certain time.
Sure, which I think is fascinating, and that's a really great part of it. Let me ask you about the making of something like this, though. That's not an easy task to undertake. You obviously have to have a big crew, you have to have some researchers, and you have to be able to be on locations. As someone who started this business 2 years ago, how are you going about that?
Sorry, I'm laughing because it is. I am still a little bit stunned and overwhelmed that I'm pulling it off. But I know all the pieces, I know the players, and I know what I want at the end. And I truly believe if you have those people around you, you have those people who get it, you can achieve it.
How long does this kind of project take? I've always wondered when I'm watching a great documentary, how long did it take to put that together?
So far, well, it's been 2 years so far. And in that time, a lot of the time is getting to know Fern, getting her to trust me, to trust the team, to figure out what the story is and the best way to get it on screen. Unfortunately, there's a number out there that someone came up with that says the average production time from start to finish for an independent documentary production is 7 years. And I don't think I can make that 7 years.
Right.
I'm just not that person.
Right.
And I just, I get it done. I want people to see it.
Sure.
I want people to see
a lot. So much could change.
Oh, absolutely.
In those 7 years.
Right. Well, and there's other subject matters out there that I'm sure you feel you want to move on to, and
absolutely,
so, not taking away from her by any means and her story, but there are others. Tell me what's something in the pile of dreams. What would you like to do?
Well, I would love to see this film on screen. That's really I like to live in the present, and so I really want to focus on getting this on screen.
Is that Netflix?
Women to see it.
Is that small screen? Is that big screen? What is that?
Honestly, either one.
Yeah.
At this point, with independent filmmaking, the process of that is, you raise the funds, you produce the film on your own. You want it to be independent because you have creative control over everything.
Sure.
And from there, you take it to film festivals. And then from there, that's when the streamers see it. That's when the studios see it.
And that's where the world has changed over the last couple of years.
Because
you want to see what's coming out on Netflix. You're not looking at the big channels like you used to in the past.
Or
the ABC, NBC, CBS. They're not what they were.
It is absolutely a different world. It is a completely different. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. The industry has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And even though you have all of this content on these streaming services, they're still not taking big risks. And I think that not to get too deep into the business part of it, they're sort of operating on that low risk, high reward, or low risk, some reward.
Yes.
So they're taking less chances with the artistry of filmmaking.
Well, Emma, I would think that if, and it appears to me that you've got a great subject matter and a great documentary in the works. If this does well and you get the attention of the Netflix of the world, and we're just using them as an example, who's to say, who it might be.
But if they're listening.
Right, exactly. The next one could be funded by them. The next one could be, and your production house could be putting it together, and we hope that's what happens. I think it is so cool that you're doing this through the lens of women. I love that idea. Obviously, I'm a woman. Again, Scott, we're sorry. We're not trying,
honestly, the attention to detail, there is a difference. I mean,
there is.
I have seen it myself.
And women see the world a little differently than men do. They really do. And to put together something through the eyes of a woman, I think it's interesting for everyone. It's not just women who will enjoy that. I know one thing. I've already seen clips from this documentary. It's not just women talking about her. You have a number of people talking about her, including Tommy Hilfiger, who loves her.
A dream.
So so
he is a dream.
It's an exciting thing. Hey, I'm so glad that you connected with me. It's great to see you. We'll be watching you very closely. And when we get a little closer to the end of this, you promise you'll come back and we'll hear more about it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. That would be terrific. Again, it is Craftworks. And by the way, it's spelled a little bit differently than people might think. So it's Craftwerk. I like that.
And it's her and work.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks so very much. This is Kerrigan and Company. Well, we did it. We survived another New England winter. As the days get longer, it's time to plan ahead and think about landscape and outdoor lighting. My friends at Lucia Lighting and Design in Lynn can help you get your landscape and outdoor living spaces ready for summer. They'll work with you to plan a space that's well lit, comfortable, and secure. After all, outdoor lighting is like adding a room to your home. Get started by going to LuciaLighting.com and then make an appointment to visit their beautiful showroom in Lynn, Massachusetts. That's LuciaLighting.com. Have you heard the news? The 2025 season is on sale now at Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. The season begins with The Shark is Broken, a new play about the making of Jaws. Then you won't want to miss the Broadway musical Waitress, followed by the magical production of The Wizard of Oz, an electrifying production of Grease, and the Pulitzer Prize-winning phenomenon Rent, and finally the dazzling production of The Cher Show. Tickets and discount subscription packages are on sale now at nsmt.org. Don't miss a single show. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. Learn all about this year's shows at nsmt.org. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan and Company. Great to have you with us for this episode. And keeping me company today, of course, is Scott Whitley from Wicked Bites. And we are about to be joined by a legend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
I am so looking forward to it. I've anticipated meeting her for a long time. She and I have a friend, a common friend, and a mutual friend, I should say, and that is David Joseph, the designer. David has been here on the show numerous times. He has designed things for me, and he has designed many on-stage pieces for Melba, and he is a dear friend of hers. Melba Moore is with us. Nice to see you.
It's really good to be here. You make me feel good.
Oh, well, listen, you should be feeling good every day of your life. That's got to be a pretty easy thing to do.
But first of all, I love Boston. You got great seafood, okay?
that we do, and pizza.
There
we have great pizza.
I can't eat pizza anymore, so.
Well, come and have our seafood. That would be terrific. Listen, I've got to start with you right off the bat. I watched your show Valentine's Day in Paris this year. What an incredible experience you must have had there. Sold out, and Valentine's Day in the City of Love. Tell me about that experience.
It was absolutely amazing. I haven't been there in a very, very long time. And it was the first time at this venue. So I wasn't sure what to expect. Well, when I say sure what to expect, I usually kind of anticipate what the entrance is going to be because David always makes me something special for these special occasions. And I was looking to try to see if there was enough space for David's train to follow me, but it wasn't. It was very intimate. So we had a small train, so I had to make sure I didn't get the train stuck or caught as I came out. So I was a little bit preoccupied because I want to know, before you sing, people see you.
Absolutely.
And so when I saw the response, when I first came out, I thought, oh, it's going to be okay. the first thing. And then, of course, the next thing I saw was that they were all standing. They took the seats out. So it was sold out. That meant the promoter made money, so he might invite me back. That was the second thing. Well, I had already had a rehearsal with the band and the background singers, so I knew they were absolutely exquisite. So then I kind of make sure I was standing up straight and said, okay, Miss Melba, let's go enjoy this here.
Well, good for you. Well, I know David said it was a magnificent show. I got the great pleasure of seeing chunks of it, thanks to him, and it was a great show. Congratulations to you. So, Scott, this woman, I start researching her. Now, everybody knows the name Melba Moore. Everybody knows. But then I start researching you and learning a little bit more about some of the many roles. And I was saying to Scott before we came on, something that I didn't realize, Melba, was that you played Fontaine on Broadway in Les Miserables, my favorite all-time musicals, and probably one of the greatest roles I personally think that was ever put on stage. Tell me about that experience. And you were also the first African-American woman to play that role. So tell me about that experience.
Well, it has an awful lot to do with one of the gentlemen who casts the actress for Les Mis, and his name is Richard J. Alexander. I was in a tiny little town called Hollywood, Florida, where apparently he had a part-time home. It's not a summer home because I guess it's always warm there. But he was there, and I was there doing a little play that I had in workshop, autobiographical one-woman play with music. And it was in this little storefront, and I was just kind of testing it out. But he happened to come to see the performance. And he said he had seen me in Pearly, so he knew that I could belt it out. Right. But he didn't know that I sang classical music. That's what interested him in him, because it was autobiographical. So I was basically trying to figure out how to tell my life story in capsule, but kind of highlighting the musical aspects of it, because part of it was that I was first a music educator. And so I was talking about that and having studied the classical pieces and doing one of the classic pieces, Summertime, to show my little classical voice. But he met me after the performance and said that he loved my classical voice, and he knew I could belt it out, and he knew I had hit records. But he wanted to see if he could get me cast as Fantine in Les Miserables, so I would have to leave all of that home, do no belting, and only use my classical interpretation of songs, because even the cultural influences. It's about the French Revolution, not about Harlem,
Right, of course, right.
But, seeing the play myself multiple times, and you mentioned classical, I wouldn't classify as classical. It just, the representation of everything, I don't know. It had a much hipper feel than classical.
Well, are you talking about Les Mis?
Les Mis, yes.
It wasn't classical, but because he saw me do classical, he wanted to make sure I knew, don't ad-lib.
Right.
Remember, it's about the French Revolution. You're an actor now. But you must become Fantine. And although she's black, she's French. She's not American. It's all those little nuances there that he wanted to be sure that I would be sensitive to once I got direction as to how I should play what I should do as a character of Fantine. Sure. All of those little cultural things that you don't want to bring to that character.
Right, absolutely, right. Well, congratulations to you. What an incredible opportunity. And it was one of many that you'd had on Broadway. I mean, you're a Tony winner, Grammys. I mean, ma'am, you have done it all and then some. Take me to one of your favorite moments, and I know that's probably impossible as a woman who started a career back in the late 60s and the 70s. But take me to one of your favorite moments, if you can.
Well, absolutely, the Tony Awards.
Really?
Because at that point, I was not a trained actor. I guess I'm still not, but sometimes you get the privilege of learning on the job. Mm-hmm. And so I really had no knowledge of theater. I didn't keep up with it, so I didn't know about the Tony Awards. I didn't know what it was, or, of course, how incredible it was and how it would change your life dramatically forever.
Right, exactly.
So I guess maybe one of the biggest moments I had was finding out that I was nominated for it, being able to perform on the Tony Awards TV Awards show.
Right.
Having the shock of the cast of Pearly and myself performing on there. One of the biggest shocks was that since it was for television, all the lights were on, so you could see who was. I saw Pearl Bailey, Rex Harrison, all these different stars in the audience. I said, "Oh my God, how am I going to remember what the heck it is I'm doing?" I'm just trying to tell you, it was so exciting. Plus, I didn't understand the categories, and I know I think it's Jack Jones. He said somebody else's name and my last name, so he got it confused. So I thought they had already called my name, and I was trying to get out of the theater. And then I heard the audience saying, "No, Melba Moore." And I thought, "Oh my God, what's going on?" There was so much confusion that night. You could never forget it. So somebody backstage made sure that I got backstage to get the award. And I hadn't prepared anything to say because I really didn't want to think about the Tony Awards. It was too scary. And that, of course, I never want to forget it.
Well, that's terrific.
That actually made it a bigger moment,
it did.
I think, for you in your career.
Absolutely.
It's very memorable.
You bet it is. Yeah. And it's amazing. I mean, that is a moment. Oh, my goodness. I can't even imagine that moment. But you've had so many. Through all of the 70s, you not only were you this incredible recording star and into the 80s and all the fabulous albums and the singles, but you also appeared. You had a variety show at one point. You appeared on every television show that was of any worth in the late 70s and the 80s. You made appearances on them. I mean, tell me, is it all about the music? Was it all about the TV performances, the acting? What's it about for Melba Moore?
What had happened was, once the Tony Award happened, you really literally were launched to another planet.
I bet.
And that put you into all of the all the media, all the realms. So I was invited to do everything everywhere. And everybody invited me to do television. So, of course, that made me extremely well known. I was on everybody's TV show. And so that made me a television star. It just really literally changed. But it was about the Tony Award. Now, what the Tony Award was about, I think, was about the music. The other people in the cast, Philip Rose was he did the Raisin in the Sun and several other Broadway musicals that purposely opened the way for Black people in theater on Broadway. And I know that people made room for me to get that Tony Award. People like Helen Hayes, Lauren Bacall. I can't remember all of the people who helped make sure that the politics were okay for me to be nominated and accept that award, because it's not only very cultural, and it was very racist. And so, for whatever reason that God saw, people made a way for me to be nominated and to I'm sure I want it legitimately and everything, but for that to happen, people had to want it to happen. Mm-hmm. They could say no, and we don't want her. It could have been that I wasn't good enough. It could have been any number of things, but it wasn't.
It was the time. It was the right time. It was all meant to be. Talk to us about Melba Moore's career now, as now as a lovely woman who could be retired should she choose to, but has decided not to. And I know you've been at Below 54 a number of times. I just talked about being over in Paris. Tell me about the career now and what you're out there doing and what your goals are at this stage of the game.
I've kind of reorganized my management and publicity team so that we're looking at what we want to do at this level. And I feel in some ways I've never really gone to my next level. I shouldn't be on television all the time. I should be able to go to Broadway whenever I think about it. I should have certain types of major performing tours. And so we're working on me getting to my next level and being consistent. That's really what I want to do. I definitely want to go back to Broadway. I'm not sure in what. We're preparing a concert tour for this season. Some places I've already done residences that I'll return to. I'd like to expand that. I really haven't done Vegas. I mean, I did it a couple of times, but some of the things I've done, I like to do consistently, primarily.
Sure. Absolutely.
What's it like, being on the Broadway stage, the rigors of that, day after day?
Oh, I didn't find that so difficult, I guess, because, first of all, I was an educator, so we understand discipline. For some reason, in my heart, I wanted to be a dancer. That means you just enjoy suffering, okay? So the rigor of the Broadway stage wasn't so difficult. What was really difficult was understanding how it all works. You have to have the other aspect of it just as talented in terms of the business and the promoting and the booking, all of that. They have to be gifted at that as well as, do it full time.
Sure.
And and you can pick the wrong people, and if you do, then no matter how talented you are, it's not going to get out. Now, then a couple of accidents happened, like Pearly and Hair and Les Miserables. That's 3 big ones, right?
I was sure. Yeah, really big.
You have to kind of try to get a knowledge of how the business works. I feel like I kind of know that now, but I've had some real deep falls and deep difficulties and hurts and
yeah.
I mean, well, but we know this industry is like that. Mm-hmm. And of course, I think I was prepared for that because my parents were entertainers and musicians. And of course, they really didn't want me to do this because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
But this is really for me. I can take these bruises here, maybe somewhere else in another type of industry where I wasn't happy and really expressing my soul's desires. I couldn't take it because it's really, really, really hard. Yeah. But the business aspect of it and the rejection and just the scariness of, I mean, I still get scared going on stage because you can never really take it for granted. The weather might be wrong, my voice might go. You have to think of these things. And as you get older, this whole thing changes.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
I think you have to, you can't just want to be in it. A lot of people want to. Somehow it has to be destined for you, or else you can't keep finding ways of coming back and doing it again and even staying at the same level, much less going to a higher level.
Right.
Come on, this is ridiculous. Right. But I think I'm born for this.
Well, I think you are. I think you've proven that, and you've ridden those highs and lows so gracefully, and there's something to be said for that, because that's not an easy thing to do, for sure. And I know you have had a lot of peaks and a lot of valleys. I think you're on a real peak right now, and I'm very excited about the concept of you coming back to Broadway. I really hope something happens there. I would love to come and see you, and I'd love for you to come to Boston. What do you think?
Oh, I'm coming.
Okay.
All right. Love to see you, too.
You're a heroine, but I'll get there. Boston is major arts center. So
yes, it is.
Somebody's going to be there, or I'll get promoted and bring myself there as executive producer.
There you go. That's exactly what we want you to do. Listen, a big kiss from Mr. David Joseph. He told me to be sure to send that to you. I would imagine you will be speaking to him soon. And many thank yous for taking time for Kerrigan and Company. You are a gem, and we're going to look forward to the next chapter in Melba Moore's life.
Well, I hope you understand that I really enjoyed this moment of pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Melba Moore, thank you very much.
And, big things are still to come for her.
Oh, you bet they are. I'm
you
excited
haven't even
for it.
reached the top of your career yet. I think you got a lot more in you still.
There's a lot more to come. This is Kerrigan and Company. Have you heard the news? The 2025 season is on sale now at Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. The season begins with The Shark is Broken, a new play about the making of Jaws. Then you won't want to miss the Broadway musical Waitress, followed by the magical production of The Wizard of Oz, an electrifying production of Grease, and the Pulitzer Prize winning phenomenon Rent, and finally the dazzling production of The Cher Show. Tickets and discount subscription packages are on sale now at nsmt.org. Don't miss a single show. Beach season is almost here, and that means we're all exposing a little more skin. Are you ready? If not, you need to make an appointment with my friends at Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa in Beverly. Thanks to their new Clarity 2 laser, they're offering the best in hair removal, photo facials to get rid of those age and sunspots, and how about those spider veins that have popped up? Well, Clarity 2 can take those away as well. Add a facial to your visit and get 20% off. Go to siennaaesthetics.com to make an appointment. That's siennaaesthetics.com. This segment of Kerrigan and Company is brought to you by Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa. Take years off your face with the very latest technologies at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Well, it's that time of the show that we wrap things up. Scott Whitley's been keeping me company today. Melba Moore, she is a gem, huh?
Oh, really, really, such a talent.
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's so interesting that a woman who has a Tony and has Grammys and has had the kind of career that she has had says, I've just never gotten to that next level.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Right. You know what? She has plenty of time still to do it.
She does. She does.
And that's the level in her eyes. Everybody else looks at us, look at everything you have accomplished in your career.
Absolutely.
Very few people have ever rose to that level.
That's what she's forgetting.
Yeah.
So we had a chance to talk about the radio show earlier, but we didn't get a chance to talk about Wicked Bites TV. How long have you been doing that?
I think we're in our 14th season, and it has flown by. I felt I was young when I started the show 14 years ago.
Well, it's. I think it's so great that you were able to. So you did what I was talking about in the beginning. Your dad had this radio show about food,
right?
So we couldn't see it. We had to visualize it. He had to do this great job of painting. Then ultimately you joined in and did the same thing. Then you guys took it to that next level because all of us have become people who have to see everything that we, and. What a smart thing to do.
But we did it differently, and that was the key thing. I took a little bit from the radio and what I've learned as far as what people listen to the radio show and why they went to restaurants, right? And I'm telling you, most of the time it's not about the food. There are a few that it is about the food, but it's rare. It's about something that gets them there. It's not the fact that they got baked stuffed shrimp.
Yeah.
There are 500 restaurants in that line of path from your house to the restaurant you're going to see on TV that have baked stuffed shrimp.
Sure, absolutely.
So on our television show, it's more about the personality of the staff. We try to draw out people. And we have been very lucky to do that, to draw out, chefs and owners and get them away from, because when they see the cameras and all, that's intimidating. And we try to do it where I'm not going to show every dish. If I go to an Italian restaurant, after showing 3 different Italian items, you got it.
Right.
You got
absolutely.
It. But I'm not going to drive an hour or 2 because they have veal parmesan. Everybody has veal parmesan. What makes them different? What's their story behind it? Mm-hmm. And then just having fun.
Absolutely.
And that's what we do, and that's what my staff has really tried to do. It's going out, even if we're in the kitchen, I'll show them mistakes that we make because that's just natural. I remember Lee, she's my co-host, and she's been with us since the beginning.
I was going to say a long time.
A long time. And she was making a muffin that was infused with ice cream. And the funniest thing...
Now, I need to know how to do that.
Yes. And it was, I'm going to tell you, it was incredible, right? But she's making it with the owner, and the owner is very proper, want everything to go right. Well, as she was making it, she put the muffin down on the table, and it rolled over. So she picked it up with her hand, and her hand had everything she just licked it. Her hand, and the owner's face just went
mortified, right?
Yes, like, you can't do that. We're going to get another one. Well, that's what made the TV show, because that's that's just being natural, right?
Absolutely.
And that was in the moment. And that's what we really tried to excel on the television. With a little bit of comedy at the same time.
Of course.
Because we want it to be fun.
Yeah.
We want the 30 minutes that we're on to fly by.
Right.
You know? And
well, and I know you guys, I know your goal too is to make these chefs, make these restaurants, portray them in their best light, but like you said, but give them a personality. Yeah. I think you're 100% right. We've had a lot of chef owners sitting right where you are, and each one of them has said in one way or another, it's as much about the way we present it than what it is what we're presenting.
Exactly.
And I think that's so true. Yeah. I'll go into a restaurant and they might have a good meal, but if the lights are too high or the music's too loud or the staff is too slow, I won't go back. It doesn't make any difference. Because like you said, you can pass 40 places on your way there that maybe serve the same kind of food.
Exactly. But what makes them different? I'm always trying to find those places. And sometimes it's a restaurant in a place that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
In a historic building.
Sure.
Or what I love are the hole in the walls. We had a place that was recommended on the radio show this past weekend, and I want to check out. It's in Saugus. It has 9 seats.
I love it.
It's an Italian restaurant, and they've been around for like 15 years.
Yeah.
How do you make it?
Right.
9 seats.
Right.
And it's not the most glamorous from the outside. I only saw the outside shots, but there's something unique about it.
Sure.
To make and they don't even take reservations. So there's lines
first come,
outside.
first serve. Yeah.
So I love finding out about those places.
Well, I want to tell you, for as unique as a place is and that gets people in, that's the same thing about your radio and your TV shows. I want you to know. There's a lot of television shows, we all know that, about, and you have competition in the marketplace about
tons.
Other. Yours is unique, and it's for that reason, because you make it fun, you draw the viewer in, you give them a reason to go.
Right.
And
it's
so
not about
congratulations.
us. It really isn't.
It's
It's about everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just lucky to be in front.
You're the facilitators.
We're just steering them along, making everybody feel comfortable and just keeping it moving, but having fun.
Yeah,
and
it's so great.
That's important.
It's so great. Now, let's tell everybody, Wicked Bites Radio.
Yep.
We can get it on
WRKO, and of course on the iHeartRadio app.
Mm-hmm.
Saturdays, I do a show where I do a lot of interviews on the Saturday night show. It's from 5 to 6 on WRKO, 680 a.m. in Boston. And then on Sunday, that's the big call-in show.
Yep.
And that's every Sunday from 10 to 12 noon on WRKO. We'll give away some gift certificates to callers, because I love for them to go out and try some of these restaurants and then call back and tell me, good or bad, what they thought.
Sure, absolutely.
And we've been doing that for almost 50 years right now.
Wow. Yep. That's crazy, Scott. And then the TV show.
It's on NESN, the New England Sports Network, Saturday mornings at 8:30, Sunday nights at 10 p.m. And I know they air it during the week on NESN and NESN Plus, but those 2 times, they're always there. Saturday morning, 8:30, Sunday night at 10 p.m. on NESN. And, of course, our Facebook page. I don't put the whole show up there because I can't do that under contract agreements, but I put our segments up there.
Which is
and
great.
People could see the segments in the show.
Sure.
If they just go to our Facebook page and follow along, because we're always popping up and going live on Facebook, and there's thousands of people that watch our live feeds and chime in and suggest places.
Scott Whitley, continued success. Slow down a little bit.
I wish I could. It's golf season. I want to get out and golf. If it would stop raining on the weekend, I'll be out there.
Yeah, right. That's what's kept you employed, right? The rain.
Yes.
Great to see you, like always. I'm so glad you could be part of the show today. So glad that all of you could be with us today as well. Thanks so very much for tuning in to Kerrigan and Company. Be sure that you follow us on social. And when you get over there to YouTube, be sure that you subscribe. We'll see you again next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Kerrigan and Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan and Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan and Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley, and our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.